Hey, what is up, Mudkippers Nation? This is Johnny, and today's Pokemon Facts video, we're going to talk about the Pokeology origins of the starter Pokemon for Generation 1. The first Pokemon we're going to talk about is Charmander. Now, Charmander is the lizard Pokemon, and its a translation in Japanese from English to Charmander is Hirokage, and that means salamander in Japanese. But the Hai means fire, and Toge means lizard, so the fire lizard basically in Japanese. Now, it's prominent that the word char means to burn, and salamander as well. That's why they put char salamander, because like fire lizard. So basically that's how the name origin of this Pokemon came to be. Now, we know that Charmander is based off of a salamander, but there are two different salamanders that have been told throughout history. There's the real salamander, which obviously is a real animal, but there's also the mythical salamander. And the mythical salamander, legend says that it was capable of surviving in extreme heat or flames, and it's said that it was on the shape of a lizard, so it was basically a salamander. And that's the reason how they became inspired to make this Pokemon Charmander from a salamander, because the legend says that there was one that had flames that could survive it and heat. Now, one of the interesting things about the Charmander that it has a hidden ability called solar power, and solar power actually comes from the inspiration of a real life spotted salamander creature. Now, the species is identified as the first known photosynthetic vertebrate animal that is capable of converting energy from the sunlight. So that's where they got the inspiration for this hidden ability, solar power. One of the interesting things about Charmander, that in its original design of its first artwork, Charmander's back actually had small lines of spikes. And if you look at the Pokemon Adventures manga, you can actually see him on Green's Charmander and Blue's Charmander having spikes in the back. Also, in early artwork, you can actually see the spikes in the back of the Charmander as well. So it's pretty interesting, the earlier designs of Charmander. A country known as New actually released a $1 coin featuring Charmander as part of a promotion for the Pokemon franchise. Now, it actually had several different coins of several different Pokemon like Squirtle, Bulbasaur, Pikachu, and I believe Meowth as well. And it was equal to $1, which is pretty interesting how these coins were pretty special and exclusive for this country. And this country, I believe, is like an island country. Charmanders are most commonly found in the mountain areas, in the heated mountain areas like volcanoes areas. But they are mostly seen with trainers, because trainers are the one that mostly carry them around the anime and in the video games as well. Another interesting thing that's pretty dark is that if the flame of Charmander goes out, the Charmander has the actual possibility of being able to die out. So if its flame goes out, Charmander dies. Now, Charmeleon is its evolution of Charmander, but it's pretty much related kind of to the same way as the Charmander. Charmeleon actually for the word char, to burn, and million as a lizard type of animal. Now, Charizard, the final evolution of Charmander, actually has a pretty interesting resemblance of its origin. It resembles the European dragon, and that supposedly from legends is the same form that Charizard actually looked, pretty similar to itself as well. Charizard is the only Pokemon that actually has 2 Mega Evolutions. Charizard also is known for having really strong amounts of heat spread out through its flames. Its flames, when it uses flamethrower or something like that, it's really effective, and it's at really high temperatures that could melt stuff like in instants. For the next Pokemon, Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur is the seed Pokemon, and Bulbasaur has a combination of bulb, which means a rounded underground storage organ present in some plants, notably those of the lily family. And the saur means obviously for ancient Greek for lizard. Now, in Japanese, its translation of the name, I can't really pronounce it, Fushigandin, literally means isn't it strange. So that's pretty interesting. And as also in Ponon, it means Fushidandi, mysterious bulb. Believe it or not, Bulbasaur's origin and design actually comes from a form of reptile, and the most common mammal-like reptiles are known as the Dicodontans. Sorry if I can't pronounce it. Anyways, they are the most inspiration to probably where they got the design of Bulbasaur. Many say that the back thing on Bulbasaur, it actually resembles an onion or a lily. An interesting thing in its Pokédex entry, it says that the seed on its back actually grows nutrients and allowing this Pokemon to grow. And another thing that was way interesting in Pokemon Yellow's dex, it states it can go days without eating a single morsel, and the bulb on its back, it stores energy. That means it doesn't have to eat food for like a couple of days, and it'll be able to survive because that thing on its back is actually storing the energy that will allow Bulbasaur to survive extra days. For its evolution, Ivysaur, it has a combination of Ivy, which is wood, climbing, or trailing plant genus, and of course the Greek word for soar for lizard. Now its translation in Japanese, Pokeology, can be taken to mean it seems strange. So that's pretty funny how they actually made it switch the definition of the word Pokeology to it seems strange. And Pokeology also means strange grass. Another interesting thing about it, that the bulb actually now resembles something else. It resembles a parasitic flowering plant known as the Rafflesia. And if you look at them together, they actually do look alike on its bulb in the back. Now the name origins for its other evolution, Venusaur, is a combination of a words Venus, which is the Venus flytrap, a plant that is actually real, or venom, as well as soar for lizard. Fushigabibana is another pun that was put on there, which means strange flower in Japanese. Nothing really else, but just a strange flower. So it kind of makes this Pokemon seem pretty strange from all its evolution and its nicknames. Not much may be interesting in Venusaur because pretty much Bulbasaur has all the original origins and inspiration for its future evolutions. Now, one thing that does resemble this Pokemon is either a Tatura, which is a dinosaur, and it kind of looks like it, but at the same time it doesn't look like it. The thing is, if you put the Tatura with the thing that Venusaur has in its back, it probably will look a little bit more similar. For the next Pokemon is Squirtle, the tiny turtle Pokemon. Now, Squirtle is a combination of squirt to spray something like water, or with a water gun or something like that, and turtle for the turtle-like appearance. So Squirtle makes sense. And its translation in Japanese is Zenigame, which means basically pond turtle. So it's not really interesting. But according to Pokemon's black and white television program, a Poke Quiz means that Zenny is an old-fashioned word for money, and supposedly this resembles the back of its shell as Squirtle, and that's how he actually got its name, from Zenigame in Japanese. Now, you know the origin of Squirtle is basically based off of any type of turtles. The sea turtles, the tortoise, they all look the same. For example, the inspiration what this Pokemon got. There's not much too interesting about Squirtle, but the fact that it goes into a shell, and it's pretty hard to actually damage Squirtle when it goes into a shell because it protects itself completely. Wartortle's name origin is a combination of war or warrior and turtle as well. Now, in its Japanese translation, it is Kamali, comes from the Japanese words Kame, which means turtle, and it is a combination of Kame and tail. It is also the corruption of Kamura, to be able to bite. Alright, so it actually does have a pretty interesting origin of where they got the inspiration for the design of this Pokemon. And in Japanese legends and several other different cultures, it is said that a turtle that lived 10,000 years ago actually grew a tail that was made out of seaweed, and this will allow it to look similar to the Wartortle, and they have depictions of it as well as little artworks of it. So it's pretty interesting how they actually got the inspiration for the evolution to have that tail like that because of the Minogami inspiration legend of the turtle. Now, there are some pretty interesting Pokédex entries for Wartortle. For example, that its tail is covered with thick fur, and as the color gets deeper in color, that means the longest that this Wartortle has actually lived. Some people even suggest that a turtle may have lived over 10,000 years. So this Pokemon actually lives for a very, very long time, kind of similar to the real life turtles as well. Now, for its final evolution, Blastoise, which is the shellfish Pokemon, it does have a name origin. Blastoise's name is a combination of blast and turtle. You get it. Pretty simple. And it has a translation in Japanese, which is called Kamix, which comes from the word turtle and possibly max. Now, an interesting thing about Blastoise is that it actually has these cannons. This actually may have gotten the inspiration from a tank, but some others suggest that it was functioning tubes that were found in mussels and other shellfish animals in real life, and that's how it got its name and probably those cannons as well. Believe it or not, Blastoise may actually be a pretty dangerous Pokemon even in real life. If this Pokemon with its cannons blasts you, it can punch through steel, and steel is actually really strong. So the high pressurized water in there actually could do damage to people in the real life world. So that's pretty interesting. You wouldn't want to get blasted by a Blastoise because, man, you would be in some serious danger. Thanks for watching Pokemon Facts Pokeology, and let me know in the comment section which was your favorite fact about these Pokemon. Also, if you want to suggest a Pokemon for the next videos that you want me to do a Pokeology on, make sure to leave a comment in the comment section. If you haven't checked some of my previous videos, make sure to click on those two boxes in the middle to go ahead and check them out. You won't regret it, they're pretty interesting.